Hello, good evening. Today I'll be talking about the gold market. I've made several publications on the gold market where I've made several assumptions, and based on that assumption, we were able to correctly predict the extent of market correction and its expansion. Right. Today we will continue our discussion based on the same assumption. So I will entreat you to check out my previous post on gold one May January 21st. It was updated on January 21st, but it was made earlier on. And this is the original post made on October 27th, 2024. So that you can catch up what I am about to say. We said that to refresh our minds, this blue face here is similar to this blue face here, right? And so, if this is true, we would expect that the properties here should be similar to the properties here. In that feat, we were able to predict that this 2020 crash rule, corona crash rule here, um should have the same should be the same. Sorry, this 2024 extent here should be the same as what happened in the 2020 corona crash rule, and we were able to predict correctly the extent of this correction, right? And we were able to call for this top here. So assuming the current top 3500 is our top, right? Conclusion slightly above our discussion today. The current top 3500, 3500 is our top. We want to model the extent, how far price will travel away from this top until it starts going up higher again. When and how far the price is expected to move, right? So we will start swiftly. Now we will talk about we are now the base assumption is that this movement here is similar to this movement here. So we want to discuss what possible properties that we may consider that will aid us in our prediction in current market, right? So here we have computed the price time vector here, right? So those who are not much mathematical people who do not like maths, then use very short time to explain what I mean by the price time vector. You know the time axis here, and we have the price axis here, forming the two-dimensional plane here, right? So for us to locate a particle right here, right, we have to use the eight time component and eight price component to locate the particle here, right? And that will be the vector of that particle, right? And eight magnitude or eight distance travel from the origin here, right? So we take our origin here, here. It will be the distance what traveled by the particle, right? So this will be, so the magnitude here will be our price time vector magnitude, right? So the price here for the first movement and the time travel here for the second movement, right? I mean, the find out that chicken unit here. And then again, you see that after price reach this position, it change direction down. So there was a change in direction of this particular line. So this created a mutated or a transformed vector, right? So this is a transformed vector. This vector here, there's some transformation or there's some mutation or there's some transformation which has been performed on this vector that did not really change its magnitude, but also change its vector here, right? Right. So the rationale behind it is that the particle, the distance traveled by the particle, the direction and its distance travel as well has changed. Say so the total distance travel will be from this point here to this point here, and that will be the total cycle, the first cycle here, right? You realize that it was square, the price and time was perfectly square, like within this time, right? It was perfectly one eight eight by 188. And this was a perfect square that on which we expected um, view future expansions. So see with this point here, we had a price time vector and some transformation performed on the price time vector here. Then similar to this point here, we have a price time vector here and some transformation performed on some of the price time vector reaching its direction in magnitude. So the rationale here is that we are trying to find out transformation vector or matrix that was used to create this transformation, right? Which caused which transformed the upward vector to this downward what vector. Now this is the resultant vector, that is the vector addition of the upward and the downward will give us the resultant vector. The addition of the upward and downward will give us the downward vector. Addition of upward and downward will give us the downward vector. And the most important thing is the angles what between them, right? So now, since we are seeing this cycle here is similar to this cycle here, right? There are several assumptions here. The first assumption, we either consider this point here as part of the new cycle, or preferably we will just ignore it. But in the previous session, we didn't ignore it, but it won't change anything. We can ignore it and rather take our new cycle from that side here, from October 2023. So that the starts of the cycle will be this side here, then some change rotation in the vector here, finding a resultant vector here, and therefore similar points in as we did similar in the previous discussion, in the previous cycle. So this vector, this resultant vector, right, is what we refer to as the subcycle, right? The total distance traveled by the particle within that cycle is what constitutes to what we call a subcycle. So entire this is a subcycle, this is a subcycle, this is a subcycle, this is a subcycle. We want to perform some matrix transformation on this upward vector to cause some downward vector that will what complete our cycle and look for the next upward vector. In that sense, we can equally find all the upward and downward vectors, upward and downward vectors, upward and downward vectors. But it is quite always good to simplify it. Try the simple ones and later you add the vectors, right? So that the theory is generalized well. You always keep the simple ones first and try adding some other transformations to make sure that we perform very well. Right. Now, the only problem here is that we do not know the extent of this course, even though we use several manual or several numerical approach to predict the extent of this correction. We will rely on a statistical model which will rather point out underlying similarities between this cycle and that cycle, right? Or or which will be able to fit well because as we can see, as we all know, computers do well fit data than humans, even though humans are better pattern recognition machines. We still rely heavily on computational abilities. So yes, as I have mentioned earlier, we will find that transformational matrix or vector that transforms the upward vector. And a simple way to do that is through the least square model, right? So with the least square model using linear algebra, we input the upward vectors, then we equate it by some transformation vector, equating it to this transformation, meaning that transformation vector x, right? That transformation vector. Yes, so by this equation, so A for the upward vector and X for the some particular transformation vector, and we produce a particular rotated what vector. So we input the price and time component of the vector here in a matrix form, and by the least square equation, we find the least distance and we find that x here, which which will be which will lead us to compute for the the downward vector here, right? This is the logic here. The reason why we are using this equation is that this is the what we call the best fit model. We can manually plot the vectors against each other and try to fit it. But we no, I don't think there's any human on this planet that will do better than a computational than a computer. So we allow the computer to find the best fit for our transformation vector. So in the next discussion, I will show you the various uh, the computation, the table, and the similarities it will able to point out. If you are interested in the code, I will share it out. Uh, okay.